How many ladies have you pulled by saying I broke my neck?
I had a woman who told me that scars were sexy,
Really?
and she was definitely picking me up, and I was like, cool, I'll see you later. It was the worst. I've missed a lot of cues.
Yeah. Is that kind of like because you just didn't want her, or you were just dead?
She was smoking hot.
Okay.
Smoking hot. I would have, if it was like a check mark, I would have checked that box and said, yes, let's go on a date. But I just missed it. Oblivious.
Do you think that's because you're just not used to cues? Because I feel like personally, I was always put down as a kid. So there was a time where a girl, she came up to me when I was at like a museum, and she's like, "You're handsome," and I said, "Thanks, you too."
Love a good you too.
And then she was offended, and she's like, "Okay, bye." I'm like, I just don't know what to say to these things. What is that like a common thing? How often, like, how does it affect your life? Because you broke it in a car accident, you said.
Yeah, I was in a roller car accident. It was on the way to Radiohead in San Diego, and the car rolled 5 times, and I was the only one that got injured, and I was the one that bought the tickets to go see the band.
Did they go see them after?
Yeah.
Oh, they saw.
In so many ways. They were out of the hospital that night, and then a buddy came to pick them up, and they gave that buddy my ticket. Okay. And they went to the concert anyways.
With your permission, or were you kind of like, you guys?
I was not conscious.
Oh.
Yeah, I was out for about 5 days.
Your friend, I don't know, just from the situation, your friend sounds shitty. like.
I blessed it later, and like the tickets were going to go to waste. They wanted to go see the concert.
That's a very nice guy thing to say. That sounds very pushover-ish. I'm going to be honest.
But like, am I going to be petty and be like, you can't use these tickets that you paid for and you traveled for?
Well, no, I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying like I don't know, just I don't know if they cared about you at the time.
Yeah.
But it's just like, you know what, I'm in Miami with a girl. You can't have sex with me. Go find someone else. Just.
But like, if they paid for that sex,
okay.
and they traveled for the sex.
I don't know. I don't know. I've never been into concerts, so I don't know like the urgency of like this is once in a lifetime type of deal.
It's like a few times in a lifetime to go to a big concert like that.
I saw Phil Collins.
Wow.
And gotta tell you, I've never seen so many boomers in a stadium at once. So, oh my gosh.
A lot of khakis.
Yeah, it was. It's just like the thing was, he's so old. He was just sitting down the whole time.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I feel like sometimes I saw John Legend just trying to get another feel for it, and I love John Legend. I just think like I could just listen to this in my car.
Yeah.
So I think I might want to go to an artist where people do cocaine. Like I won't do cocaine, but I just want to be in that environment.
Yeah. A bunch of coke heads, coked up on coke. Watching a band.
Coked up on coke, sipping coke, wearing fuck Pepsi t-shirts.
Doing lines.
Do you think, because I'm always curious because I got into a car accident. I got T-boned.
Wow.
And there's a time, because I'm from Alaska, so there's a lot of black ice everywhere.
Yeah.
And then you never know. It's super scary when a car goes to a quick stop because you don't know if they're going to be able to stop. And for a while, a year, every time that would happen, my body would just tense up like crazy.
I bet.
Was there any part of you that was kind of like cautious of cars?
I was sleeping. So like, it wasn't like I was driving and like I had the terror of doing the whole thing, and then we were in the median and it caught the road and started flipping. I was sleeping when it happened. And I think I remember waking up, being upside down. I think I remember the helicopter ride a couple days later. But other than that, I was out for about 5 or 6 days.
And are we talking broken neck, like you are just totally helpless? And
yeah, totally. Like every move I made, it hurt my neck for a couple months. But they went through the front of my neck to get to my spine on the back, and they took out a piece of my hip. So I have a little scar on my hip there too, and they just put the hip bone across my 2 vertebrae that were broken.
Does that affect your dancing?
It doesn't, fortunately. Some days I wake up with pain in my neck, but otherwise I am unaffected with my dancing.
I don't know. I'm glad thing you brought up the car accident like last second, honestly. Like it's just an interesting thing, like the rehabilitation process.
Yeah.
Because I feel like you've been like semi-fit your whole life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, because a lot of athletes, and a good example is Joakim Noah. He was a center that played for the Chicago Bulls, and he was, when you're 7 foot and you're like you're good your whole life, like just on the fact you're tall, and then if you have a skill set, he was so used to winning his whole life that when he retired, when like no teams wanted him in the NBA, he kind of went into a depression of like, I'm from top of the world to unvaluable like in a second.
Yeah.
How is it like not being able to maybe do bicycling or whatever your activities are?
Yeah, I was at a point in my life where I had been broken up with. She said, "I care about you too much to date you casually." It was a long distance thing, and I was pretty wrecked by it. So my life was, I was up all night. I was not doing well. People that I was working with thought I was doing drugs. Because I was just like so worn out, like my eyes had bags and stuff. I was just not doing well, and the accident kind of reset that. So it was.
So you were almost back on track, and then the accident just relapsed you back into the mental state.
I was heading to a wall, and then the accident gave me an out. It was like an eject button, where I was able to get out of my responsibilities. Like you get out of school, you get out of work, and everything's like, well, you can't keep doing this because you broke your neck, and everyone's cool with it. Whereas 3-4 months later, I would have had to say, I can't afford this anymore. I'm going to fail out of school. I have to quit this job because I'm showing up late and in bad conditions. So
you say hit a wall, and by hit a wall, you mean the accident made it so that you didn't have to be accountable for the slippery slope you were going down. Is that correct?
Yep. I had an escape door, an escape hatch, and I got it. So it worked out. I was on a path that wasn't good, and it set me straight.
And how is it because I think it'd be worse, kind of the rehab process of not being able to do anything, and the fact of I'm just saying your friends aren't good friends. I don't know them, but I don't know your support system that you had. But like I can imagine not being able to do anything. It's not the best creative space. What was your I don't know. I'm not trying to be too redundant, but what was that process of like trying to get back to being you?
Yeah, it was a lot of the rehab space was just a lot of watching Ellen and Roseanne reruns, and then I got back into school. And I had a pretty bad head injury. I had a lot of memory issues, a lot of cognitive stuff. So getting back into a space where I could even write and all that, like cogently, like something that was like worth anything.
Were you still writing at that time, or did you get into writing later in life?
Much later in life, yeah. I did some writing in high school. I wrote some stories and stuff like that. But then it was...
What age was this at?
Did I have the accident?
Yeah.
I was 19.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, 19. Yeah, so pretty young, just out of high school. Mm-hmm. What good conversation are you going to make if you've been sitting at home all day?
No, definitely.
It's tough because I ran out of experiences pretty quick.
Yeah, I've personally ran into that because I'd be talking to people and they'd be talking about, I traveled here and here. I'm like, I'm 18 in Alaska and I can't afford to travel because personally, like living there, it's so much more expensive to leave because even going to Seattle is like a $400 trip, round trip. To me, that's a lot because I can go to New York and Arizona for like $200 in the right time of year. So no, as far as you ran out of experience at 19, how was it jumping back into life? Because I mean, if you do that, is it just like, all right, well, now I had that excuse, I won't let that happen again, or how'd that work?
Yeah, I got back into school, picked up friends. A lot of that. I got a job working construction where I was waking up at 4 a.m. So that was also not helpful. I basically put my life on ice for about 3 years, just circumstances. And I had friends all around me, and it was a great support system. But just stayed at home for a few years in a row.
And when did you go to New York?
When I was 20, that was 2013, so I would have been 29. I'd lived in Arizona most of my life, and I decided I want to live somewhere else. I think there's a difference between, and I have no issues with townies, but I think there's a difference between people who lived in a place their whole life and people who have moved around a bit. It's just like a different mindset, and I think you have to deal with new people and. You have to get your laundry somewhere done, else you have to go down to the grocery store that's different. You have to figure out how to get around transit and stuff and new roads. So I think it's just a different mental mindset.
Yeah, my favorite thing that I read in the book, I think it was like Originals by, I forgot where, but they talked about like when you travel, it just especially at a young age, it really increases your artistic perspective because you're able to take away from so many other cultures.
Yeah.
Rather than if you just stayed in Bentonville, Arkansas your whole life. It's just like you're not going to really know much more than just Arkansas.
Right.
But no, I think if like personally, I like doing it just because it makes me like a little bit more empathetic of just like going to Mexico and just like the cliche is just like, oh, there's like it's so crazy over there. But it's really just seeing that like my buddy he manages it, and he'd have a day where he offers Saturday and says that you could come in if you want, and 100% of the people came in to work for Saturday so they can make an extra like $10 on their check. And if my work said, hey, we need you to come in on a Saturday, nobody would, maybe one or two people that have to pay child support would show up.
Yeah.
But where's it, what, I don't know, did that add perspective to you, or what do you feel about like kind of townies and then people that travel?
Yeah, and like I said, I have no issue with townies. Definitely have some friends that never moved. When I had never moved until 29, I had that mindset. I think you get it with traveling too. So I definitely agree with that. And then I forgot the question.
No, yeah. I'm just like, this is all just kind of back and forth. Personally, I feel like townies is just like people, because coming from Alaska, where it's a lot of people, they'll leave for one semester of college and then they'll come right back. I notice people do it here, like they're so afraid to leave their state. I don't know. I just personally like being uncomfortable. Maybe it's a fun thing. You're really big in traveling. What's like the main thing? How is it financially? Because there's some people that plan it out very well, and then there's some people that say you don't need a lot of money to travel. You can just, especially where you go somewhere where like $1 is equivalent to 3,000 pesos, like in Colombia. How do you approach it?
Airline points. All on airline points and credit cards. It's super privileged because I had good enough credit to kind of work my way up. It's a boring conversation, so I'm not going to get super into it, but sign up bonuses, and you get 100,000 points, and you can travel to New York 4 times on that.
Personally, quick question. I did it, like personally, I just signed up for a credit card, and I got the extra 80,000 points.
Yeah.
Do you just do you just get the points, then cancel the card, then apply for another one?
That's a way to do it. You want to build credit age so you can leave them open, and then once you have it open long enough, like after 6 years, it's working for you. I turn auto pay on everything because I don't want to get hit with a no pay fee or late fee or whatever, and then it gets under your credit and all that. But a lot of people sign up for the card, get the points, and then dump the card, and then sign up 2 years later or whatever you have to wait. Yeah.
I was personally, because I'm almost out of my points, so I'm like, I bought tickets to Colombia. I'm like, oh, I have 10,000 points left. That's pretty lame.
Yeah.
What's the first country that you were like, wow, this is totally different from like my reality in Arizona?
I went to. I didn't travel as much until I went to New York. So I was in New York, and that was pretty different. But Barcelona was the first place I really traveled to, and it was amazing. Just the people were great. I did travel in 2006 to Europe, so that was like a big experience. Forgot it. We were talking about forgetting places we've been.
You forgot how it was your trip to Europe?
Well, I remember the Barcelona trip, and then I came up with the one from Europe in 2006, and that was a month with some friends. That was awesome. But yeah, just seeing how other people live is amazing.
What was because when I went to Dominican Republic, a big switch up for me is that people that maintain eye contact so heavily. Mm-hmm. Because even as we have this conversation, you'll talk and then you won't look at me, but you'll look.
They go right over here. Yeah,
you go right over here. But they maintain that
That's
continuously.
amazing.
That I notice. Especially, maybe it's because I'm white and I'm like everyone else is brown and like I'm 5'5". But like people stared at me a lot more. They didn't really care about I'm rude for looking at you.
Sure.
They just got.
That's just how they did it. Yeah.
How's that going to Barcelona and Europe and all that?
A lot of people are drifting. In Barcelona, people are very friendly, very close, and we're just very interested in you, which is really cool.
Did you ever get that stigma from people like American?
Other travelers, other tourists were a little snotty about that. 2006 was Bush. And people were having real strong feelings about Bush because the good feelings from 9/11 had tapered off where people were like, Americans, we're with you. And it was like, oh, the wars. And they were not as excited about Americans. So it was a little bit of that.
How evident or how 'Cause it's always curious. Like, it's another world. Like, do they still get American headlines sometimes? Probably not like the smaller stuff, but it's like when Trump posts a tweet that's like just like crazy. Do they still talk about it? Like, yo, Trump just talking.
Is it
about
like
this?
world news?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems like it's there's the general feeling of things that that quote Trump is a buffoon, or a reality star that's now the president. Like, if you just take it at that level, I think that's definitely the news that they get.
Have you gone to Asia?
I've been to Japan.
Japan?
Yeah, which is Asia. I shouldn't say like it's a different place.
Japans aren't Asians.
My favorite country is Africa. It's like, that's not a country. I've been to Japan. Spent about a week there with my folding bike. I travel a lot with a folding bike with my friends with their bikes.
Yeah. Did you just go there? Did you just specifically fly there just for a week?
It was, we were there for a week. Airline points. American through Japan Air.
I'm always curious because as I was planning a trip, because I had like an awkward amount of time off, and I was like, maybe I want to come here, but the travel is a day to get there, and then it's a day to come back, and it's just like, do I really want to be there for just that amount of time? How was it just traveling for like a week?
It was fun. Still got into the places. We also moved every day or every 2 days, and then you lose a day to travel, which was always tough. But it was fun. Got to see a lot of places. Got to get like the 1 day time in Osaka, and really got to experience that in Tokyo and Kobe. Got to see a lot of cool places.
How valuable has it been to kind of see different parts of the world for your perspective?
I think you mentioned it earlier with empathy. I think it's absolutely imperative for my empathy, or at least it's very crucial for my empathy that I got to see so much of different parts of the world.
What would you say to like a young person that's like, because I strongly believe like, you don't have to go to college like right when you're 18. Personally, I've had a lot of friends that are going now and they qualify for better. College is a lot cheaper at 24 years old than it is at 18. Do you think it's important for character development just to go like right away, or do you think like go to school, or how did you do things?
I had my time away from life after my accident. I did MCC for a couple more years, taking 1 or 2 classes at a time. I wasn't very successful at getting things done ever in my life. I'm bipolar, so sitting in ADHD of some kind. I focus very poorly, and it seems like everyone's like, I'm a little ADHD sometimes. It's like I can't sit down. If I sit down to do an assignment, it feels like I'm sitting on like a burner, like a hot burner. It's just like I have to do something else. Got medicated, things are better. So I would take like 1 or 2 classes at a time every semester, and I did that for about 3 years until I was 23, and then I seriously took ASU seriously. I went to ASU and I got my psych degree in a couple of years. So I graduated college at 25.
Okay, that's so. Yeah, I'm kind of annoyed with how loosely people throw the term ADHD.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I just feel like that's like, I told this to like my mother, because like it seemed like there's something, like each child has something. And then I'd show her my paintings, and then she would try to diagnose me with something. Like, it's okay for me to not have a mental issue. Like, I can just be a kid. I can just be your son that's healthy. Like, it's okay.
Yeah, and like quirks. Yeah. They can be quirks. Yeah. Like, I'm OCD. It's like, no, you just like when your towels are nicely folded. Like, that's not a disorder. That's just you being neat.
Yeah. Do you ever call that out? I don't know, because it's just annoying to me. It's just like, you can just be a normal person. Like,
yeah, it's all a spectrum. People have their, like I said, people have their quirks.
Maybe I think sometimes people just make it their personality.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh my gosh. Like, I saw this one. It's like, I'm lactose intolerant. I can't eat cheese. Like, you eat cheese? Wish that was me. I can't do it. No.
Yeah. I was lactose intolerant, and I would ruin rooms. It was like, not like, I get like a gurgling, as like I would clear things out. It was like Pumbaa.
You have cartoonish gas.
Yes, cartoon. Like, I never, watching the Lion King when I was younger, like it never occurred to me they were talking about Pumbaa just farting a lot.
Really?
Yeah, but he's just farting a lot.
What is kind of quick pivot? You take medication. Does that affect your perspective on writing as a comic? And I've seen you just do comedy, stand-up comedy right now.
Yeah. I do. I did improv. Actually, I got a refresh at Improv Mania a couple months ago, and I did UCB in New York. I took 3 Improv 1, 2, and 3 in New York. It's interesting with the medication because I can sit down and focus, but either I'm out of, because of the pandemic, because I'm getting older, because of whatever, I feel like I have a harder time coming up with jokes. I have a harder time sitting down and just like writing out a punchline. They just don't come to me, but I can now sit down and write something out. So like,
Because now that you're on medication, you can write something?
yeah, like I can do writing, I can get like all kinds of work done. It's changed my life, but then like, is it making me less creative? I don't know. Is it that I got out of the habit of telling jokes over the pandemic because like no one's around each other? Maybe that was it.
Because I definitely think it's a muscle you have to like keep in check. Because I know my buddy Matthew Delgado, I think he did this challenge of trying to work on a bit a day, and I'm like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I would never.
Yeah.
No, right. I just feel like it's so different working out a bit a day at an open mic versus just like if I was like a touring comic, yeah, sure. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Right. And then you try it out that night and you keep, yeah. But man, a bit a day.
Yeah, I don't know, I just like doing the 5 bits of the 5 a day and 5 tags a day, only because it's like enhancing the bit that I have. Because I think I've heard other like show producers, they said like a lot of newer comics have so many premises that they don't extend, and their 7-minute set will be on 47 different topics. Mm-hmm. So I'm just like, let me just try to talk about like Alaska, or just kind of me looking like literally every light skin on the planet, you know? Do you think, this is just quick, this is just me kind of being interested in your perspective. Do you ever think like what would happen if you were in like say a time where there was no medication for your attention or bipolar or all this, like how would you be?
So that was about 20 years of that was like 34 years of my life. So I would, I don't know, I like to think I was very funny. When I would have mania, like I would have these manic episodes, and it was not like I would have this episode for 2 weeks and I would just be all crazy and staying up all night. It was usually, sometimes I would just get like a slight bump and I would just like get on a roll, and I would just like have these like funny, like what I thought were funny rants, and I would get, I don't know, I was like the life of the party kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But often how it would come out. Otherwise it would just be like 8 o'clock, I'd suddenly get a lot of stuff done for a few hours, and then I'd go to sleep at midnight. But yeah, like there were times, and it feels amazing. It feels like a set's going so well, and I could make an audience out of whoever's around me and just like capture their attention and just nail it for, I don't know, as long as I wanted to, 5, 10 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever it was.
Mm-hmm. What was the downside of that? Because I know there has to be a downside. Honestly, from the way you describe it, you should never gone on medication. It sounds amazing.
Yeah, and that's why like people do drugs to continue feeling that way, or they don't get on medication, or they miss it and they get off. The downside is the rest of the time is depressed. Okay. Like, and just like, and not like crippling depression. Mine's very mild. I have bipolar 2, so it's like manic episode and then depressed, and the manic episode and then depressed. So it was like little bursts of mania.
So the way I get things done, I get my things done. Like, I feel like I dick around for like 22 hours of the day.
Yeah.
And then I get my whole thing done, and like I get my reading done, I get my workout done, I get joke writing, yoga, and all that done in that small portion of the day. Yeah. Do you think? Well, obviously you're more productive now, where it's just like, well, I got everything done, so like it doesn't really matter. Like as far as like being productive so randomly.
Yeah, it's interesting. So I'm 2 years into the meds, trying to figure out. Sometimes my mood still gets wonky, where like I'm grumpy for an afternoon, and like I don't know why, but I just am. As far as getting things done, I've tried to put on a different mentality, thinking about I could do this later. I could put this away later. I could do it now. Before I would think like I'm just gonna put it away later, or whatever. But now I'm trying to think like, let's just do it. Let's just get it done. Let's get it done with. Makes me a better partner. You know, there's a bunch of dishes in the sink. Like I'll just do them.
Yeah, I think David Goggins. The thing is like if you don't like doing something, just do it, and it makes it a lot easier to do other things. Yeah. That's why every time I start my day with working out, I have a list of habits. It makes it really easy for me to complete all my other habits. Because it's just like, oh, like I already did the hardest thing today. Because like I can run, but I fucking hate running. Yeah. I just go for that feeling like I did something. Yeah. How much do you think like self-talk is into, because we're in the world of self-help right now, how much do you think is just like, you can think your way out of it or feel better, or versus like, no, I actually need help, like that's bullshit?
Yeah, it always felt like, because I couldn't get things done, it always felt like a moral failing, that like I just wasn't a good enough person to get things done. And I find I'm building those habits up now. I'm making this all about my mental health. I'm still building up some of those habits. So like it's fresh eyes. Like I need to figure out how to get stuff done in an organized way. Right now I'm like a plastic bag blowing in the breeze, as Katy Perry once said. So I just like kind of find wherever I am and whatever I'm doing, and I get things done and it works out. I feel like getting organized and like staying like really focused is a lot like someday I'm gonna get working out and get really fit and be like a Men's Health cover. But like I should be more honest with myself and just say like that's not gonna happen. But the same way with like getting organized and like having lists and like an organizer and like, you know, a Franklin Covey planner and like the whole thing. I just don't think it's ever going to happen. What I need to do is fit it to what I do rather than what I want to do. Mm-hmm. Right? Like I wish I was this way, but like I'm actually kind of a mess over here, so let's get a more organized mess rather than like someday it's going to be perfect. I always focus on perfect, and you can't do that. You can't get to perfect. Was it someone I recently, probably my therapist, told me go for mastery over perfection, because nobody can be perfect, but people can master a skill or a
I think
hobby.
That's like the problem with stand-up. It's just like there's never the perfect set.
No.
Like because we change. I don't know. I don't know, but I've never felt like I've had a good set. Because there's always one joke, and it's just like they didn't laugh. There was a lull. There was a lull. That could have.
Yep. Yeah. Or there was someone in the front that wasn't laughing. Yeah. Or like there's something that was distracting out of the yeah.
I think because I don't know how tall you're, like 6 foot, right?
6'2".
Yeah, I've noticed that I'm so tall, I don't look at people in the front row. Because I was at like House of Comedy, and then I noticed like I like personally had to make an effort to look down on them, and then like we make eye contact. But I always look to the second row, never the first row. Just I'm like King Kong up there. That's what.
I have a hard time, for a long time I had a hard time even hearing laughter. Because I did, 10 years ago, I did a little bit of stand-up for a couple years, not well. And then...
it was horrible.
I know, I read my notebooks and the jokes I had were all really like edgy and like cringy in a lot of ways. And they were just like, not like dirty jokes, but yeah, they were. Some of them were, and they were, I should have let go of them.
No, I think it's hard to look back at any older sets and be like, that's prime comedy right there. Especially when you're in your first, I think of you as contemporary, we're like in the same playing field.
Yeah.
I'm like in my second year right now, so it's just like anything. I feel like maybe when I go like get older and with my writing skills, I'm like, that's decent. I can look back, I'm like, oh, I could use that today. But year one, nothing. It's
all trash. I had a friend that I reached out to in December, and I was like, this doesn't feel good. And it doesn't feel good most of the time. And like, when does it get better? If it gets better, maybe I'm wrong for it, right? Like there are people who can just get up and just talk and whatever. There's someone in the scene who's seems to be coked up most of the time. And like, it's funny where he's just talking about his regular everyday life and he has like jokes and stuff, but like, he just has a funny personality. And it's just like, I was going up and not doing well again and again. And I would be in the middle, I would be listening to my set on the way home, and I'd be like, tell a joke. These aren't jokes. None of these are jokes. These are like some premises, some ideas for like...
I noticed that's an older person problem. Not that you're old, but I noticed that you wouldn't... No, I'm saying like, because I noticed people like they've never done stand-up, and then like they'll be like, oh, I'm funny here. And then like, because my buddy Randy, he went and told this story he thought was funny about his camping trip. Yeah. Not one punchline in it for the whole 5 minutes. And he's just like, I'm just glad I did it. But I've noticed that there's more just like them talking and they don't realize you need it. Yeah. There needs to be like a twist or something like that. There
needs to be funny pieces along the way. Mm-hmm. I call it the funniest friend problem. I'm the funniest friend. I'm going to go up on stage and be funny like I am in front of my friends. But like, the crowd doesn't know who you are. They don't know there's no context. You don't have a relationship with them.
Yeah, a lot of the time before I got into writing and like had like, because I personally got more into like set up punch purposely so I can get more of a rhythm. Yeah. Like in my head, like Rodney Dangerfield, but then my delivery is Dimitri Martin. But like, I don't know, I purposely just did that because I don't know, laughs for a minute, it's just fun. But literally forgot what I was saying because that.
We were talking about looking at the audience, and we were talking about setup and jokes.
Oh no, yeah, jokes. No, yeah. Well, you were saying something about like this guy's on coke. I personally have seen more comics on coke recently.
Really?
Yeah, it just doesn't work. Like, like some of my friends, I'm like, you're really funny.
Yeah.
That wasn't funny.
Yeah.
Like,
and you don't like it's. You're not laughing at them, but it's just like, okay, this is like a silly thing, but yeah, there's no jokes.
Personally, it's just because I know how funny they can be. I'm really big on like, maybe it's a bad thing. I think you're as funny as your last set. Like, and that's like a thing that I can't change that about me. It's like when somebody says sure, I've had people, it's like I've asked them, they're like, can you want to come do this interview? And they say sure. I just don't reply to them because I just find it disrespectful. Yeah. If you say sure with an exclamation mark, sure. I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah, come on, get a sparkling water. But if you say sure, I'm just like, nah, you don't want to be here.
Yeah, and it's not the vibe you wanna have.
Yeah. It's a partnership. It's like you get to stand in front of a camera like a porn star, and now you have content. it's equally equal.
Yeah.
Well, what is something to kind of cap this off right now? Say you see this in 10 years. What's your expectation for yourself?
Oh, like where do I see myself in 10 years?
Yeah, either financially, professionally, marriage-wise, whatever you want. What's like something you want to have? Like this is a definitive thing you want to have in 10 years.
Wow. So I expect a family. Like I'm gonna have a family in the next couple of years. Still plan to be married to my wife.
No, for sure. Yeah, hopefully.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Married to my wife. Have a kid.
Pick a name right now. No, just do it.
Abernathy. I don't know.
Abernathy.
Yeah, young Aber. Good old Aber. Can't wait to spend some time with Aber. Or like Athy? I don't know.
Okay.
Athy.
I just wanted to say, just in case, if there's still YouTube in 10 years, I just want like.
Yeah.
She's like, what? We didn't talk about that.
You weren't thinking about that. I put a couple names on my wife has a list of baby names, and I've put a couple of like decoys to just be able to have something like, well, you don't like my two, and I don't like these two. And they're terrible names. They're not good.
Yeah. I was thinking that for some reason I was thinking of How to Kill a Mockingbird. It's like, what about Atticus? Let's get
But people like that's a thing, right? Where people like name them after like a literary thing. But like Khal Drogo, is that going to be a name that people have in 20 years?
I like gender neutral names like Robin.
Yeah.
No, it's like Jamie.
Yeah.
That's the thing with Jamie Foxx. He's changed his name to Jamie so he can get into a club. It's just like, my name. Jamie, just something gender neutral. Like, get in here. Let's go.
Nice. Yeah. 10 years though. I don't know. Probably.
Give me one sentence. 10 years. What?
Society will have collapsed.
Dates a black.